Good.
Let's just give it 2 more minutes and then we'll let everybody else join. Percy, otherwise, are you well?
I'm very well. I just come from the Health and Welfare Seat expression of interest session. So I ran away from there because they were still busy with it to come and slot in this side.
Oh, shame.
It's quite interesting. At least a person can share some of the stuff that they intend doing in the Northern Cape.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And otherwise, how's things that side?
So I'm in Durban and all is well. We've got beautiful weather. Other than that, yeah, all is well.
Yeah, no, we are preparing for our early winter season now. Yeah, it's getting cooler this side.
Sure.
You're waking up with 7, 8 degrees in the morning.
Oh my word. No, that's hectic. It's a whole different world out there. Yeah. Is Drina on the callers yet?
Not yet, Elaine.
Because this morning when I had a chat with her, she said they have load shedding, so I don't know whether what is their schedule like that side of the Northern Cape.
Okay.
Sometimes very difficult in the smaller municipalities, you know.
Yeah.
You think you're going to have 2 hours, then it goes on for 4 hours.
Goodness me, that's scary. Okay, I think what we're going to do is start then in the meantime, because it's already 3 minutes in. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to today's virtual event. We've got a very, very exciting lineup because we have representation in the Northern Cape now, and I'm going to allow Percy to introduce himself, and then also he can introduce Drina and give a little bit of background with regards to that. But Percy, I'm going to, because I'm sharing the presentation on my side, I am going to rely on you to just say next slide, please. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. So you will see on the current slide, it's just a little bit of housekeeping. Please do share comments in the chat box, and Angelique is going to read those out as they come along. I'll also keep an eye on it. Then let's have a look at what the agenda is for today. I'm going to just introduce our hosts and their names, and then there'll be a welcome from the chairperson, an introduction of, well, that's a duplication, and then Northern Cape, ASDSA, what the potential is for development. I think it's always nice for us to hear from different regions what is actually going on, and we've never had insight or stats or data or from the Northern Cape as such, and considering that it is one of the largest provinces. Am I correct, Percy?
That's correct.
There is definitely a need for skills development to be done the same way that it is done in all of the other metropolitan areas like Cape Town, Durban, and Gauteng. Okay, so co-chairing with Percy is Drina Davies. She's based in Kimos, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Kimos. Okay, and I do have a bio on Drina, which I'll be happy to share with everybody closer to the end of the presentation. I hope that Drina is able to join us to introduce herself too, but she does have extensive experience with multiple seaters, including working for some of the seaters, and driving skills development in her area. And then we have Percy Manual. He's based in Kimberley, and he is co-chairing with Drina Percy, I'm going to leave it up to you to introduce yourself while the screen is up. Is that okay?
No, thank you so very much, Elaine.
And I don't want you to be modest. I need the audience to be fully aware of your skill set and expertise.
Okay, that's man. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Percy Manual started working for the BS way back in 1988. I worked for the BS. I started off as like normal person, started at bottom and worked myself up into the HR arena as a human resource practitioner, covering the 4 disciplines, which is recruitment, training. Then you have, in the mines, you also have community services, and of course you have your industrial relations. After some time spending in the various areas, that time when we had a diplomat program, which is more or less on the same terms of a learnership, the current learnership in the country. But it ran over 2 years, where you have to then show after the 2 years in which areas your expertise lie. That means you spend 6 months in HR, recruitment, 6 months in industrial relations. You can hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
6 months in community services and 6 months in training and development. And at that time, we need to develop our own, before the unit standards came into being, we needed to develop training programs based on the needs analysis that were conducted amongst the various people coming from that time, your homelands. You have to make sure that the training is compatible of what the company needs underground and on surface. Well, I've worked myself up, started off in Koffiefontein mine, which is in the Free State, very close to where the last disaster happened in Jagersfontein. It was the first mine where the beer started, and it was closed. Koffiefontein also is busy closing down again after some years of operation. Transferred to Kimberley, started working on the mines. Kimberley had 4 mines. You had De Beers, you had Wesselton, you had the Joint Shaft, and of course you had the smaller mines around where you also have to do your recruitment for those institutions. Gradually, when things were lovely embedded, I moved from the Kimberley mines over to the Beers Geology. And at the Beers Geology, it was a different ball game, where you had an office in Centurion, where they were sorting your sand that were explored to see whether there is kimberlitic material in the gravel across the Northern Cape, across certain countries like Canada. These ladies were doing sorting, and you had to make sure that they know what they were doing as a human resource person. And gradually in 2005, I decided it's time for me to pack up and start my own business. 2005, I started pack up, resigned, and I started working in my own company called ASDSA Training and Development. And lo and behold, within a week, I started working in 6 municipalities across the Northern Cape, putting in place, that is also just about when the country came out of 1994 elections, and a lot of the municipalities were being amalgamated into one, like it is currently is, and I embedded human resource practices in the municipalities in Warrington, Berkeley West, across basically 3 of the districts in the Northern Cape. And whenever I visit these municipalities, people still remember me. develop the job descriptions for the employees. And the job descriptions after grading, some of the municipalities could not afford to backdate salaries because the job descriptions were evaluated and they came up above what the people were earning. So it was another challenge for municipalities to find the necessary resources, finance resources to pay back pay and that type of thing. And gradually after this contract, I started working for myself. And I was fortunate at the age of 60, Wholesale and Retail employed me as a coordinator. And I was stationed in Katu to manage the Northern Cape office from the campus in Katu, where I dealt with a lot of skills development in the retail sectors, small businesses, bursaries, internships, graduate placements. So it was a wide variety of skills initiatives and learning interventions that were successfully implemented. And I am now retired. I'm basically working from home and facilitating programs whenever people need me. Currently busy with the company, also on the MQA side, submitting their WSP, working on employment equity and that type of thing. So it's a variety of things that I'm doing and also attending to the ASDSA challenges. Yeah, and attending the provincial skills development forum meetings, and wherever there is workshops, I attend with the sole purpose of staying abreast with developments in the Northern Cape.
Yeah, and that would be Department of Labour, that would be CETAs,
the CETA,
and that would also be across multiple sectors, I
yes,
would imagine.
Yes, I attend the inter-CETA sessions also, where all the CETAs come together to see what they are doing in the Northern Cape, in order that they could work together and enter into service level agreement wherever there is different sector qualifications that need to be implemented. And a person is basically on top of these things to see what is available, what is being addressed in the colleges, is there partnerships, do the partnerships work? This morning I had a chat with the business unit manager of the rural TVET college, and they said they are so successful. They got an award from the president for implementing learnerships and making sure that the learners, after exiting, do get employment, which is a nice feather in the cap for the rural TVET college. And they are servicing basically about 5 campuses in the rural area, Kuruman, Katu, Springbok, and the R, and the 1 campus also in Uppington itself, over and above the college itself.
Sure, so far reach. I think that's absolutely fantastic that there is an awareness and that the Northern Cape hasn't sort of just been left by the sidelines. Which CETA would you say is the prevailing or prevalent CETA in the Northern Cape in terms of the qualifications that are done?
Yes, a person cannot put a standard on them because it varies from CETA to CETA, because some CETAs have offices in the Northern Cape, other CETAs do not have offices. And some of the CETAs do attend the inter-CETA meetings. 4 of the CETAs are basically, they are basically absent. Is your bank CETA, your insurance CETA, and then you also have the FMMP CETA. Yeah, there's another 4th one which is also absent from these gatherings, but all the other
health and welfare.
Health and welfare say it's got offices in Kimberley and in Uppington. The wholesale and retail CETA had offices at the 2 campuses, but with the new manager, they were gradually closed down because I was the one person in Kathu. There was another guy in Uppington, and gradually she roped us in back to the provincial office, and we basically came travelers to these areas instead of being on the doorstep of your retailers. But those are the seaters that have, satellite offices in the province. The others are basically have only provincial offices. Some do not have, but they are present whenever there is programs to be launched and that type of thing, especially when it comes to career guidance and that type.
Okay, all right, fantastic. All right, I'm going to move to the next slide. Angelique, can you tell me if Drina's managed to access the meeting?
Elaine, not yet.
Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, so is there anything that you would like to unpack specifically around this slide, Percy?
Okay, quickly, the Northern Cape has got 5 districts. As you can see there in the bold capital letters, Francisbaard, John Traule, Namakwa, ZF Macau, and Pixley-Kasema. And as you can see, the smaller blocks are all the municipalities in those areas. The most rural municipality, district municipality is John Traule, Gaetsewe. They only got 3 municipalities, but they are very, very rural. But what also keep that rural area vibrant is your mining activities that are taking place there. Your manganese mine, iron ore, and various other mining things is very vibrant in those particular areas.
Okay.
Then you have the ZF Macau. Now, ZF Macau they've got 4 municipalities. They are basically your agricultural hub, where you have your grapes and sheep farming, a little bit of livestock, but it is bigger, the grapes and the vines in that particular area along the Orange River. Then, of course, Namakwa. As you can see, Namakwa stretches from almost half of the Northern Cape to the west coast. The Richtersveld is the furthest municipality you can get. And again, there you have your alluvial diamonds. You have Namaquai, you have Kamisberg, Kaima, Antam, and Karooland. Karooland is also sheep farming, but Namakwa is also popular for its copper mines. Then Pixley-Kaseme is a dry area.
So what happens in that dry area?
The dry area, ma'am, what has happened here is that a lot of solar plants went up in this particular area.
Okay.
Solar energy went up there, and there's more plants earmarked for that particular area to at least bring it to life. It is very sparsely populated. The Northern Cape as a whole is sparsely populated. It's about 1.2 people per every square kilometer. So it is, these areas are very sparsely populated, and the municipalities are basically dysfunctional. They are there, but they are dysfunctional.
Okay.
Just a comment from Angela. She says, grapes in the Northern Cape. I've learned something today.
Yeah, there's some good wines that come from the Northern Cape, man. They export overseas. They have a big airport in Uppington that take these grapes across Europe.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, that's very, very interesting. So Western Cape is not always the only place where things happen.
No, not at all. Not at all. Then, of course, you have Francisbaard, where I am based. We've got 4 municipalities. It is your urban area, basically. But the municipalities are the three of the municipalities are basically also dysfunctional. Kimberley is on the verge of moving in that direction, but I think they will survive. There's a lot of activity that's going to happen in the near future for all these areas, and there are economic things that are going to happen. It is just basically a little bit about the Northern Cape.
Absolutely, and there's a little summary over there. 26 municipalities in total, 5 districts, and then they're broken down into those areas over there. Okay, so let's have a look at an overview of the province.
It's the largest province in Africa, 900 kilometers squared. I think the Gauteng could possibly fit in there about 3 times or more.
Wow.
The population, when they do, the population was always below 1 million. And what has happened in the past is that with the demarcation, municipality borders demarcation, they moved some of the Northwest into the Northern Cape in order to give it a bigger slice of the population of Northwest. And this is why we are standing now at 1,193 people. It's about 1,2 person per square kilometer. Unemployment figure at this particular, officially it is 26.4, expanded it stands at 45.9%, which is about the third of unemployed people in our country behind Mpumalanga and I think Limpopo.
Wow.
2022, our matric results, we came 8 out of the 9 provinces. So there is a big challenge which need to be addressed in our province. I think a couple of years back, we ran first. 3 years in succession, we came first. And when they removed the MEC for education, everything just collapsed. That was Tina Jumat. I don't know if you know her. I think she was for a time also transport manager, transport MEC or whatever they call themselves. When she was moved and her brother was the director general also in their department, and we came first 3 years in succession. And the moment they left, I think the director general now is in the Western Cape. I don't know whether he's still employed, but that is where he moved to.
Sure. So fundamentally, the challenge starts with basic education.
That's correct.
Okay. Wow.
It starts there.
Sure. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at some of the challenges. Sorry, unless you want to continue.
Yes. Then, of course, some of the challenges that we also have is, especially if you move into your rural areas, like the Namakwa district, it's basically Afrikaans speaking. And you find it difficult because if you have to do training in that area, you basically have to translate everything into Afrikaans for people to have an understanding. And what I've picked up when it comes to portfolios are very reluctantly completed because, you know, to construct sentences in English and to give your own work in English becomes a major challenge. And that is one of the things that possibly a person needs to look at, whether a person should switch over to Afrikaans modular training or whether you should continue with your English modular training and sit with the challenge continuously. And of course, your John Tolle Gaetsiwi area, you have your Setswana language spoken again, and people hardly want to speak Afrikaans. Although Afrikaans is a predominant there's 4 languages in the Northern Cape, Tswana, Afrikaans, English, and isiXhosa. isiXhosa is more predominantly in your Picklikaseme area, but also spoken here and there in the other district municipalities.
Okay, yeah, and this would hugely disadvantage individuals who would like to eventually make their way into the metropolitan areas for jobs and that sort of thing. So that's very restrictive.
It is very restrictive, yes. But we managed to get across these things. But, it is difficult if the background and if the base is not corrected at an early stage in your primary school and in your high school.
Yeah, absolutely. Because is schooling done in English?
No, you have your various schools that have there's private schools, and there is, of course, your English medium schools and your Afrikaans medium schools. And of course, and of course you also have your area, your Oranje, the self-sustainable province within a province. The Oranje area, the grouping. Very close. They are in Pixley Kaseme. They have their own currency. And they have basically sustained themselves by putting up solar, and they are hoping to move away from Eskom.
Okay, sure. Yeah, well, that would be a feather in their cap, I think, if they did manage to achieve that eventually.
Yes, no, you need to go and visit that area to see how those people sustain themselves, as a small sector grouping, white Afrikaners, but they sustain themselves. No, they're happy to accommodate anybody, but, they are very restrictive in certain places. They do business with everybody, but when it comes to their language and everything, you need to speak Afrikaans all the time.
Okay. All right, I've got it.
Right.
And then transportation.
The other challenge with transportation and traveling, if you do your recruitment, you need to basically travel distances to get to learners in the rural areas. The distances between towns are just large. Kimberley to Kuruman, it's close to 300 kilos. Kimberley to the R, another 360 kilos. Kimberley to Uppington, it's 400 kilos. Uppington to Springbok is another 400 kilos.
Wow.
So if you look at rural, then you need to make sure that whatever you're going to do, you need to make sure that you have funds for traveling.
Okay, so they are not very receptive, especially in terms of resources for virtual instructor-led training, for example.
Yes, that will also become the challenge, because now you will need data, and plenty of data, because it might also be the data that you have should be very continuous. If there's intermittent changes, then you lose everybody again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a comment from Michael.
Okay.
Percy, you mentioned dysfunctionality creeping in or evident in the district municipalities in terms of service delivery. How do you think skills development would have a role in turning these entities around? And does the ASDSA have any impact in supporting skills development in this province?
Thank you for that question. At the last provincial skills development gathering, it was now the 30th of March, the ASDSA was present, and they highlighted a lot of challenges in the municipalities, especially when it comes to the submission of WSPs. They do not know whether these things are credible. When they submit WSPs, it seems to me it's just a matter of complying. If they can comply with something they submit, so that they get it off their key performance area. What they submit in those WSPs is questionable, and I don't know whether they do proper skills audits to see what is the real needs of their people. And these are one of the things, way back when I was still doing consultancy work in one of the municipalities, I mean, the HR guy, the HR person that I had to work with, when you ask him anything, it's like you are from another planet, because
Oh, my word.
yeah, simple things like, check on people that are sick. I mean, we investigated a person that was off sick, and this person was off sick for 6 months.
Oh,
Nobody went to go and check to see what is wrong with him. And I told the guy, listen here, let's get in my car and visit this person. And his wife told, no, he's catching fish. So now, if this guy is sick, what is he doing next to the river catching fish? So all these little things, people just let things slide. If it is not my problem, why should I worry? If nobody worries, if nobody asks questions.
Okay, so education needs to start at grassroots level in helping organizations, including municipalities, understand the impact of a WSP, ATR, and pivotal report, why it is that they need to do it, why it needs to be accurate, how to do it accurately. I think the HR and L&D teams in those organizations, education regarding skills development needs to start there.
Yes, it is very crucial to make sure that the people understand why certain things. It is not just a matter of ticking off a box to say that you are complying, but making sure that there is proper buy-in right from the top, out of the mayoral committees, on the different committees, that they understand what is skills development. And not just it's a nice thing to have or something to report on.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, let's have a look at some of the opportunities, and we may have touched on some of these in the discussion now.
Yes, okay. For the ASDSA, marketing of the organization among the private sector companies, the mining and agriculture, there is an opportunity to venture in there, maybe speak directly to the mining companies in bypassing your MQA, so that they can maybe pay for the membership of an SDF. I think it is possibly something that they can budget for, so that they know whatever these SDFs will submit is credible and it will be accepted. And that is possibly one area where a person should that we could target. And I think if a person maybe get into the mining, I think the mine managers have a type of a forum where they also come together. If a person can get in there and tell them, listen, this is something that a person can drive, because I know they do come together and discuss certain things within the mining charter and that type of stuff. And the DM and the, what do you call them, the Department of Mining and Energy portfolio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Then, of course, a person need to see whether the current crop of people especially in your municipalities, whether they have done SDF training. Because it could be that they were just slotted in or deployed into these positions, whether it's a counselor that is no more a counselor, they gave him a job and said, oh, here's a job for you, you can be the SDF. The person sits there, he doesn't have a clue what he must do.
Yeah.
To do targeting SDF training and make sure that we get these people on board. I mean, again, the municipality can maybe budget for their membership fees and make sure that we grow the SDF within the ASDSA.
Yeah, that's where it needs to start. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the Employment Equity Act is enforced by, I'm just throwing this one in. I mean, the Department of Employment and Labor inspectors visits institutions to go and check whether they've properly implemented employment equity. Maybe they should also look at skills development to see whether this is properly done. Because if you want to see who's being trained, especially your designated people, then it will help with skills development. That means the employee skills audits are conducted properly and reported on, instead of just a thumbs up and say, you go for training and that's it.
Yeah, I'm doing Excel three years in a row or something.
That's correct, yes, yeah. Then, of course, if we are strong enough, maybe set up satellite offices and resources for the ASDA to function properly from a office and share information with SDFs, have coffee meetings once in a while. With what are you struggling? How can we help? And that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I do have some ideas around that for you, Percy, and it's something we can chat about offline.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Right, then of course the economy of the Northern Cape relies heavily on the two sectors, namely mining. You have your iron ore. The people that are moving into the Northern Cape because of its riches is there's a lot of Indians coming in. There's a lot of Chinese coming in, and they are managing some of these mines here. Recently, a new mine opened in, I think it's 2018, new mine opened in Gamsberg. It is basically run by Indians. They came in and they explore. I mean, it's iron ore, there's copper. The Australians are coming in with a copper mine in Prieska. Diamonds is still in the hands of the Beers, but the Beers have basically sold off all their mines and they are now privately owned by Petra Diamonds and some other JVs because the Beers basically said, they are tired of mining now. The Beers are Oppenheimers. They said, they are tired of mining now. Let somebody else, as long as they sell the diamonds to us.
Okay.
And that is how it is. And of course, the manganese mines are, it's almost like a manganese belt where you see the mines are opening up between Portsmouthburg and Kathu. There are other minerals also coming to the fore, and all these require skills. It requires skills in various fields, from mining to managers to engineers. And if we sit with education problems, we're going to have more people moving into the province from other areas because of employment.
Yeah, and the need for skilled workers, and they're going to start importing people as opposed to using the people that we have.
That's right, yes. And of course, addressing the real skills needs in those areas, yeah. Then, of course, you have agriculture. I've mentioned the grapes. We have sheep, we have goat farming, there's cattle farming, and of course, your winery. And of course, there's also dry fruit. All these things are exported via the Oppeting airport, and it is great to have this, although sometimes seasonal, but it helps. It's put bread on the table for some families, yeah. And of course, tourism, we have set 6 national parks to explore. I think we have seen some of our videos about the flowers that are unique to the Northern Cape. You don't find them anywhere in the other provinces. It happens between August and September when there's good rains during June, July. There's good rains, you have flowers. And then, of course, you'll see all the Gauteng GP cars coming from that side to come and look at our flowers. But again, it needs people, tourist guides. It needs skilled people to show the people around. Again, a seasonal thing, but the parks are always there and they're open.
Yeah, so from a tourism perspective, that's running on track. But even tourism in Northern Cape does require a high level of skills development.
It does.
Sure.
I know there's a company, a training provider in KZN. Maybe you've heard about them. It is called Tourism World Academy. They do a lot of training in the Northern Cape when it comes to these things, your field ranger projects and that type of thing, if they are successful with tendering.
Okay. Right.
Good. Then, of course, new developments, the solar plants. There's a lot of solar plants going up. Green energy, revitalization. You can see the things that are happening in smaller towns, around smaller towns. But again, these projects are projects that will have a particular lifespan, and thereafter people become unemployed again. Because they can also just employ so many people once the plants are up and running. And a person needs to see how best you can then reskill people for other sectors. There's hydrogen that is coming, alternative energy source, which it's on the cards, it's in the planning and exploratory phases. Opportunities to upskill and reskill. Population growth in the province, in the sector, will double, if not triple, once these projects, according to the presentations that I've seen, once these projects really come off. And there is no green peas, blockages to prevent these things from happening.
Oh, so there's no, so environmentally,
yeah.
There's no very little focus.
Yes, no, the environmental impact studies are being done, but okay. Sometimes the Greenpeace people can take certain things to the extreme.
Yeah.
And not that the person want to cut them short of what they are doing, but a person needs to look at what is also good for a particular province and how it will help the province grow. And not just say, okay, shut down this thing. It is going to harm the environment. It is going to harm the underground waters and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So it just causes a little bit of a bottleneck.
Yeah, it causes bottlenecks, and it, when things need to happen, somebody throws a spanner in the wheels, and then it stops. And when something stops, then it stops forever.
Sure. Okay.
Right. At the last meeting of the Provincial Skills Development Forum, the MERSETA, the Premier's office, because they drive this thing, the MERSETA announced that they are putting up 300 million rand for skills development. And the details will be shared of what programs will be delivered and when. I mean, 300 million rand in a particular financial year is a lot of money.
It is.
In a sparsely populated Northern Cape, I don't know who's going to get what and who's going to do what and who's going to be trained. But all these details will come to the fore, and I will share it so that a person can see where there's opportunities, not just for training providers, but also for the ASDSA.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it will be great to tap into that for effective SDF training. I hope that there's an allocation to higher education so that we can get the likes of engineers and those sorts of people fully qualified?
Yeah, they are talking to not of the municipality, to the university, the South University in Kimberley. How much details, I will not know, but there is talks that they need to start focusing on getting the programs off the ground.
Okay, that is fantastic. At least there's light at the end of the tunnel. And again, Northern Cape is not being left behind, but I do think it's tricky with regards to how we approach it, considering some of the barriers that you mentioned, like language and distance, traveling, etc.
That's right, yes. And of course, you also need a thorough buy-in from your communities. Your communities can also derail things, because with all the politics that goes with it, somebody sees, somebody does something, and you say, oh, this one is taking something under the table, that one is giving this one is giving something over the table, and it's difficult situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as for everything, there is solutions. It is not that it is the end of the world. It is just that sometimes these approaches can take forever.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just want to mention here that Michael's come up with a suggestion. He says, thank you, Percy, for this feedback, and quite sad, but reality. Thank you, Len, for your comment. Could ASDSA consider approaching the relevant mayoral MMCs to create awareness on skills development for their entities? And yes, absolutely. That is something that we're going to be doing in doing our research with regards to ASDSA Reach. The Northern Cape was most certainly an area or a province that we highlighted from our research that is in desperate need of optimizing the SDF role for all of the reasons that Percy has mentioned. I'd like to open up now to some questions. Percy, I think it's Q&A now, unless there's anything else that you'd like to share.
No, I think I basically covered everything. I hope I will be able to answer all the questions, if there is going to be questions, but I'm open for that. Okay,
fantastic. All right, we've got a new message here. Thanks, Michael. Okay, please raise your hand. Yeah, okay, there we go. So please, will you raise your hand? I'm going to stop sharing. And then if you could please raise your hand if there's a question that you'd like to ask, or a suggestion that you'd like to contribute. We believe that we have innovative minds attending these forums. So if there is anybody that does need to share something, please do.
Have I covered the topic for today, ma'am?
I think you absolutely have given Northern Cape a brilliant introduction. So Percy, I'm looking forward. I know that the rest of the members of the ASDSA, and it's something we could possibly send out, when you get insight into what some of the critical or scarce skills are in the Northern Cape, it would be great for you to share that with us. And we know that you are the person with the feet on the ground. So we'd be more than happy for you to be the in-between person. You speak the language, you know the people, you understand the communities. So there definitely is an opportunity for collaborating with you.
No, thank you so very much, Elaine.
Okay, and then just to encourage everybody for your CPD points, Angelique has posted a link. If you can please follow that link and complete the information. Percy, we've got huge amounts of thanks coming through for you. You really have represented your region exceptionally well, and we are very excited to watch the space and see what it is that you're going to be doing. and the ASDSA will support you fully.
Much appreciated, and thank you so very much, colleagues. It was
Definitely.
fantastic. And I think it is worthwhile belonging to the ASDSA.
Yes, absolutely. No, I agree. I agree. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Angelique, I don't know if there's anything that you need to contribute from your side.
No, all good. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Percy. That was very insightful.
All right, super duper. We're going to be giving you some time back, 9 minutes. Wishing you all a wonderful rest of your short week, and then a wonderful weekend ahead.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Percy. Thanks, Angelique. Thank you so much for attending, everybody.
Yeah, as soon as I received the presentations that were completed and handed out at the provincial PSF, I will also share it with the ASDSA so they can see about the hydrogen project and that type of stuff.